Hello everyone, I'm the Sports Wiz 101, and today I'll give you my predictions for the NFC in this upcoming NFL season in 2025. I did my predictions about the AFC, released them about a week ago, and you can catch them on the video on my channel. But today we're looking at the NFC, where I do believe we have some spicier predictions than what I got in the AFC. And I will note I did make a couple of edits to these predictions after news of the Micah Parsons trade happened earlier today as I'm recording this. So if the records don't exactly add up between this and my AFC predictions, that is why. But this gives you an updated look at how I see the NFC. So let's go ahead and get started with the division that I think will get the 1 seed, and that will be the NFC East. The NFC East, where you'll notice I don't have Philly winning the division. I still have them going 12-5. They're going to get in with a wild card, but a lot of the reason is history. We have not seen a repeat division champion in a while. In fact, it has been since the early 2000s that someone went and won the East in consecutive years. Of course, the defending Super Bowl champion Eagles won the East last season, so that trend continues. Someone not named Philadelphia is winning this division, and I believe that the Washington Commanders are the team most suited to take over in a potential Eagle absence. Now, of course, you'll know that I don't think it's going to be a complete absence. The Eagles are still going to be a good, possibly even a great team this year. They did lose some pieces from that Super Bowl team, but this should still be an awesome team that I just don't have winning the division. Of the remaining 3, like I said, Washington probably the one best suited to take over in a potential Eagle absence. And a lot of that has to do with the now second-year quarterback, Jaden Daniels, who I severely underrated him last season. And he would keep proving me wrong week after week after week. And I think he's going to be up to similar stuff this coming season. Maybe not as magical as his rookie year, but I think this year he fully cements himself as one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL. Dallas is at 8-9. I just view them as a mediocre team, especially after they trade away Micah Parsons. I think Parsons, really, he's only the difference between Dallas having a winning record and a losing record. But I think either way, Dallas was going to miss the playoffs. So, with that said, I got Dallas at 8-9. Then I got the Giants at 2-15. I do think the Giants are better this season, but they just take on a ridiculously tough schedule. Play team after team after team that I just think is obviously better than them. I mean, they're probably not beating the Chiefs. They're probably not beating the Chargers. They're probably not beating the Eagles. Washington, I've seen them play them close, so maybe, but that might be pushing it. Yeah, it would be surprising to me if New York came away with at least 6 wins. So, New York probably in for a tough season this coming season. Moving on to the division I think gets the 2nd seed, and that's the NFC North. I think this is about as intriguing a division as there is. And I've got the Lions. winning the North after a tiebreaker with the Packers. Now the Lions, of course, lost both of their top coordinators this past season as both became head coaches in other places. One of them actually now the head coach of the rival Chicago Bears. And that's part of why I think Chicago makes a jump here. They make it into the playoffs as one of the wild cards. Of course, I also think Green Bay gets in as a wild card. Well, that being said, why does Detroit win this division? I think even with the loss of those two top coordinators, this is still a Detroit team that's among the most talented in football in my view. The talent is still there. They just get competent coaching. This will be a good team once again. Packers sitting at 11-6. They get in with a wild card, I believe. Adding Micah Parsons definitely helps their case. In fact, I believe I had them missing the playoffs before the Micah Parsons trade. That being said, this is still a team no one wants to take lightly. I think Jordan Love's going to have himself a good season. We'll see how that rookie receiver in Matthew Golden, how he acclimates himself to the Packers organization. And then, of course, Chicago, like I said, 10-7. I do feel like this is a swim or sink type year for Caleb Williams. If he can't get this Bears team to, I'm not going to say to the playoffs, but at least to a winning record, then it might be time for Chicago to look somewhere else for their quarterback. But I will say that from what I saw of the Bears last year, I felt like their biggest problem was on the offensive line, and that's really a position that I believe they have fixed. So it won't be up to the offensive line to determine how good Caleb Williams is. It'll be up to Caleb Williams to determine how good he is. And then we got the Vikings. They went 6-11, and I'm sorry, I'm just doubting them once again with a new quarterback in J.J. McCarthy. I just think running that quarterback in what is essentially going to be his rookie season, you're going to see a lot more rookie mistakes out of J.J. McCarthy. This might be a team that is at its best at the end of the year, and a team that you definitely won't be complaining to see that they're on TV. But they're also a team that I think is last place in this NFC North. Moving on to our next division, the NFC West. This is another intriguing division where I could honestly say I wouldn't be surprised if any of these guys wound up winning this division. To me, it's probably between the Rams and the Niners. And I think a lot of it depends on the health of Matthew Stafford. If Stafford is healthy, he's playing like himself, he's playing like you'd expect Matthew Stafford to play, I think the Rams win this division for sure. But I think if Stafford's not 100%, if Stafford's playing the worst football of his career thanks to his back injury, I think the Niners take this division. To me, I'm not going to predict Stafford to struggle due to injury. So yeah, I got the Rams winning in the West. But like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if the Niners won this division. I think I said this a couple years ago. They're always under Shanahan, either really, really good or really, really injured. And while I did sort of call them being really, really injured last season, I'm not going to go out and predict that here. I think they're more due for just a good season. But the part that kind of forces me away from putting them into the postseason is knowing who they're relying on at wide receiver, as they got a couple of former Chiefs and Sky Moore and MVS. Yeah, that's typically not going to cut it. Now, granted, they should get Brandon Ayuk back at some point this season, but I also think it's going to be more of an offensive struggle for the 49ers, especially early on in the season. So I'll take them second place. They just missed the playoffs. Cardinals at 9-8. That just feels like a good place to put them for the moment, especially with the inconsistencies of Kyler Murray. Just so inconsistent of a quarterback. Putting him as close to 500 as you possibly can feels like the best move for this Cardinals team. After that, we have the Seattle Seahawks. They're now being quarterbacked by Sam Darnold. And with that said, I've never been a big Sam Darnold fan. I feel like the coaching of their team last season had more to do with Minnesota's success than Darnold's play did. I do think he's probably better than I'm giving him credit for, if that means anything. But I also think that he's probably not good enough to lead the Seahawks into the playoffs. Anyway, moving on to the last division, it is the NFC South, where I got Tampa Bay winning this division at 10-7. So, here's the thing. I've been picking against Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers for years now. Pretty much ever since Brady retired. And after this past season, I basically said, you know what? I'm done having the Buccaneers make me look like a fool. Next year, I'm not going to underrate them. I'm going to pick them to win the NFC South. Now, that being said, you look at the other teams in the South and the other quarterbacks, if they are at least decent, this might be the toughest division the Buccaneers have had to try to win since Brady retired. Thing is, I'm just not as big a believer in those quarterbacks as I am now in Baker Mayfield, who I believe has unequivocally proven himself to be a top 10 quarterback in this league. So with that said, I'm going to take Tampa Bay 10-7. Atlanta's got Michael Penix Jr. Would not be surprised to see him take this Falcons team on a playoff run. And I also think that Carolina could have a good quarterback in Bryce Young. The difference between the two teams for me is that I think Penix has the far more superior talent surrounding him. Especially after Carolina trades away Adam Thielen. And then you got the Saints, who are also here. Yeah, New Orleans, I got 2-15. They are going to be in contention for worst team in the NFL, I believe. And they're going to have a pretty good shot at landing the first overall pick. But it's going to be up to the other three in this division, I believe. And at this point, I got Tampa winning it. So before I go, here's another look at the potential playoff seeding. Well, without further ado, those were my NFC predictions. If you like this, please like and subscribe. For more to come, I'll try to predict what the playoffs might look like if these seedings would come out this way. But until then, I have been the Sports Wiz 101, and I will see you all later.